to the Marketing Nomad Show, the fun pit stop for all things Instagram, where I also share my entrepreneurial journey, some of my lessons, wins, and challenges along the way, so it can inspire you to get started and grow on Instagram as well. Welcome to the Marketing Nomad Show, Joanna. I'm so excited to have you here.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me. It's such an honor, and I'm so happy to be here with you.
So, Joanna, let's kickstart this episode. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your business, and what is it that you do?
So you would classify me as a mindset coach. So I empower people that are very busy, go-getters, proactive, driven, and ambitious individuals that they don't understand that it is resting time is very necessary and very important for their productivity. And so I just bring that peace and that calmness to their life, and I help them reframe their mindset to understand really what makes that shifts in their life that can really make them successful. And I do that with mindfulness, and I also am a neuro-linguistic programming practitioner. I'm certified in NLP. And yeah, that's how I help my clients, just give them that inner peace, that peace of mind to help them really relax and produce even more, achieve even more.
That's amazing. I know that, there's a lot of mindset that comes into being a solopreneur, and it's amazing to see what you do and how you help us manage our crazy life with mindset techniques. So definitely, very inspiring to hear that. So about your business, what was exactly a turning point that made you decide, well, I got to start this. This is something that people really need for their business.
Yeah. Yeah. So when I started my NLP certification, it was 3 years ago, and I did it out of curiosity. I didn't know anything about doing the personal development work, doing the inner work, work on your mindset. I was very logical thinking and very practical. But I was pushing my emotions down because I thought, and at that time I was still in uni, and I thought that I needed to be this logical being. And I'm a scientist by education, so I'm a biomedical scientist. That's what I work full time. I work at the hospital, so I thought that I needed to be very analytical and very academic and very focused on numbers and data. And when I started to learn about NLP, I understood that emotions are very much necessary, and that's what we need to deal with in order to be able to do the analytical stuff. And I haven't done anything on my business. I didn't start anything for the past 2 years, but then COVID happened. Global pandemic happens, quarantine happens, and I got myself at home, didn't have um, any hobbies, because everything that I would do, it was either work or go outside, right?
Right.
And then I had to stay home, and that got me to really do a self reflection and work on my mindset a bit more, become more aware of my emotions. And I was stressed. I was diagnosed with anxiety and depression at that time, the beginning of quarantine. And I understood that I needed to change it because I was being prescribed medication, and I didn't want to take that medication. And it's funny that I got that my tongue twisted because I started to meditate, and I started to think, okay, I'm completely burned out. I'm just not happy where I'm at, and I know that once the quarantine goes away, I will still not be happy. So I need to make something to change my life, and to help people, because I was always that person that people would come for advice. And I said, okay, now I need to start monetizing on my advice. Because I really think that this has space to grow. And that's what I really started doing. I started investing in my knowledge. I started to work with a coach as well, because in the beginning, like 5 months ago, no way I would be doing this, because I was so afraid of everything. And so I started to work with a coach. I invested in other programs that really gave me the framework of how to run a business, how to start a business. And here we are today.
That's amazing. It's amazing to hear your journey, especially given that the pandemic has actually changed a lot of our lives in very significant ways. And I know that, there are negatives to it, but in a lot of ways, to be honest, it has changed the way I see life as well, and in a positive way. So it definitely resonates with me when you say that, this was the time that you started your business. I actually started my company in the middle of the pandemic. So it's probably so crazy to say it out loud, but I think this pandemic has forced us to see life in a very different way. And in some way, that's good. I think that,
Yeah.
it has brought positive changes, or at least we've made it become positive.
Yeah.
I think I would rather say that. So
Yeah.
that's amazing. And so, during this phase, I know that you said, people look up to you for advice. And one of the common problems that I see when people, are in that position is that you are overcome with, self-doubt. And of course, imposter syndrome does seep in because so many people look up to you, and you always think, okay, what if I'm not who I'm supposed to be? Or, they're looking up to me. There's so much of added pressure. What are your thoughts on coping with that?
Yeah. So I think do it for yourself.
That's
That's what I say to people. Because if you are doing it for the likes, if you are doing for the intention of others, you are not working in alignment with who you are. You are going against who you are, and you are putting so much pressure on yourself. You are raising yourself to such high standards. And that's what I was doing as in the beginning. I was focused a lot on being on Instagram, and I wanted to start a YouTube channel, and I wanted to do this and that and that. So I was just diluting my services and diluting my message, because I was afraid of what people would say if I really showed myself, and then they would say, "Oh, you're no expert. You know nothing about this. Who are you to be stalking anything?" And I had that, like I said in the beginning, 6 months ago, I would never be doing this, because first, because English is not my first language. And so I had that imposter syndrome for, oh, my English is not perfect, my accent is not perfect, my vocabulary is definitely not perfect. So how are people going to pay me when they can pay someone who is English, who was born speaking English as their first language, that has eloquency? No, this proves my point. That just has that awareness of the words that to
fluency.
use, and yeah, and just has it all together. And look at me now that I don't have it all together. And I think the turning point is really to become aware of your weaknesses and your strengths, play to your strengths, and be kind to yourself, and be patient. Because when you're patient, you will get there. Maybe not as fast as other people. And that's another thing, we start comparing to others, right? Maybe not as fast as other people, but on the other end, you might be even faster than other people who are going a little bit slower than you. And everyone has their own space in this world. Everyone has their own message to put out to the world. Everyone needs to hear it from you, exactly from you, your life experience. And that's how I've been dealing with imposter syndrome, because it was so exhausting to go on Instagram stories and be this perfect person. It was exhausting. And then people were not interested. They couldn't relate to me. And so that's when I started my podcast. And I do the podcast for me, for myself. It's like I'm coaching myself, and the podcast is something that I've been getting the most feedback, because people come up to me and they say, "Oh my God, I can totally relate to what you're saying. I feel the same way. I've been struggling like that as well." And it's funny because my first coach said to me that I shouldn't show my weaknesses, quote unquote, or my struggles, because that would take away the expert part of me. And I so disagree with that.
Mhm.
It's in the vulnerability that you become stronger,
That's
and
true.
you become patient, and you take action, and you get the motivation to do more and more and more. So this was a big tangent. So I don't know exactly what I was saying right now. But yeah, that's how I've been dealing with imposter syndrome. I feel it every day. Just before having this call, I felt it. I feel it every day, but I do it anyway. So yeah, that's my message.
Now let's take a short break from our podcast episode and hear from our sponsors. This podcast episode is sponsored by the InstaSavvy Tribe, a paid monthly membership that gives you the technique, the game plan, and the mentorship to help you grow a quality following on Instagram, bring in those leads, and eventually make sales. TIST releases multiple topics every single month, ranging from planning your content strategy to creating a sales funnel using Instagram. This is so that you can fearlessly grow your business and gain that financial freedom you've been working so hard for. If you're interested to learn more, log on to www.themarketingnomad.co/TIST. If you're looking to accelerate your growth on Instagram with TIST, use coupon code podcast10 to get a 10% discount off the yearly plan for TIST. This is available exclusively for my podcast listeners. Now let's get back to our episode.
I love that you say that because it's true. I feel it every single, probably every moment of my life. It's like a roller coaster. Like one moment, the first beginning of the hour, I think I'm on a high. I'm like, whoa, I can do this. And then the hour kicks in and I'm like, I can do this. And then it goes, well, I don't know if I'm doing this right. And it's just such a continuous cycle. Like in a day, I at least have like 5 attacks about this. Like, am I doing this right? What am I doing with my life? Kind of thing. So it's absolutely true that regardless of, which stage you are in, there's always something that, you will doubt yourself on. And I feel like moving forward despite that is what is going to, I don't know, distinguish you from everybody else. That's what
Yeah.
I truly feel. And I also, for our listeners, so Joanna and I, when we were talking before this call, she actually told me something that really resonated with me and something that I've been thinking so much about. I think we had our call last week. And
Mm.
this is what she said. She said, her podcast is for her. And I have been stressing so much about, being perfect on my podcast. And the minute she said that, it really, kind of hit me like a light bulb. Like, take it like it's for you. And, she said, I don't worry about being perfect. I don't worry about, sometimes I go in a tangent, in my conversation in my podcast episode, and that's okay. That's completely okay. And that's when it hit me, you know, do it for yourself. And I absolutely loved the way she shared that with me last week. And of course, I know that she talked about it right now, but I just wanted to say that, it made a lot of difference to me and the way I view, the podcasting. I was relatively new to it. So on Instagram stories, it's like, yeah, okay, you guys are my best friends and whatnot. And I'm completely open over there. But when it came to podcasts, it was something new. So I was
Yeah.
really hesitant. So thank you so much for, sharing your thoughts on that. That was definitely life-changing for me personally. And I
Oh,
know that
I'm
a
glad.
lot of people
Yeah.
out there will love to hear that as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really want to talk a little bit more about what your coach said about, how being vulnerable actually does not take away from that expert feeling. Can you give
Yeah.
me like an incident in your life where you felt that really didn't work out? I mean, it is true that if you add vulnerability, it actually makes you feel, it actually makes people look at you more of an expert rather than not.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was working with her as every week, getting feedback on the things that I was putting on social media. And so I put the first episode on my podcast, and she gave me this feedback. She said, "No, don't say your struggles. You want to put yourself in a position that you're the expert, and you don't want to admit that you're struggling." And so that was her feedback for that particular podcast episode. Okay, it is the first episode ever, but it is the one that is the most popular, and by a difference. You cannot say, "Oh, it's only because it's the first one, so obviously you had more people listen to it." But no, it is by a big difference. And so it's so interesting because the numbers don't lie.
Yes, absolutely.
So more people enjoyed that episode because I was being raw, completely raw, and I just showed the whole of my vulnerability. I was being myself, and that's what people want. People want you to be yourself. People want you to make mistakes, because if you're perfect, they might even start to feel jealous of you, and they might even distance yourself, distance themselves from you, because they feel like they put you in this altar that they will never reach that position,
True.
and so they feel almost very repelled by you. And
That's true.
so people need to connect on some level, and a lot of the times is the mistakes that we make. And I love being goofy, and I love, oh, mistake, that's okay, let's go. Because that's what people relate to, and that's me, so it comes easy for me. And that's another message to overcome imposter syndrome, is to do the easiest thing for you. So I record my podcast episode, mostly those raw episodes I recorded on, like, I press play and I press stop, and that's it. I don't edit, I publish. I don't even listen back to what I said. I just press publish. And that is just so easy for me. And so make it easy on yourself. And that is when you're not self-sabotaging, right? Because when you don't sabotage yourself, you're not procrastinating, you get to point A to point B, you're fast, you're quick, acting fast, and you don't think too much, because overthinking is self-sabotage.
That's true.
Is you just accepting the fear and just dwelling on the fear. And if you stop dwelling and if you get moving, you don't have time to feel the fear.
That's true. That's such a good point.
So yeah, just find the least resistance path. Very important. Make it easy on yourself. Ask yourself, how can I make this easy for me? So yeah, that's another thing to deal with imposter syndrome.
Absolutely. I loved your answer for this question. Absolutely, because it resonates so much with me. I think a lot of us deal with self-doubt and imposter syndrome, and I feel like it never goes away. You just have to find the least resistant path, as you said, and then just go ahead with it. So love those words. Absolutely resonates with me. And so now that we're coming a little bit into like you said, a healthy mindset and working your business through it, and a huge part of my problem, I would say, is that I find it difficult to balance my personal life and my work life. And the reason is that I love working, so it's hard for me to stop working. And I feel like this is a problem with a lot of passionate solopreneurs, because we're just completely immersed into our job. And yes, that does lead to a burnout. And I have been burned out to a point where I couldn't work for a month. And it was just really bad. And even recently, I had two launches in 1 month, and that burned me out. I couldn't post anything. I was just completely exhausted for 2 weeks. I was like, no, I'm taking a break. So it's usually, you shouldn't get to that point, obviously. So what are your tips to maintain that healthy balance that we all look forward to?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like, this is the major problem of my clients. It's people who are very high achievers who work at very high standards, high performance, and they are go-getters and they want to be successful in life, and they believe that resting is a waste of time.
Yes.
It's either a waste of time. Yes, that's the common ground for everyone. So resting is a waste of time, and when they eventually have to rest, they feel guilty for not being at work and not producing. And so someone is very happy. And so so if they're not producing, they feel guilty. And so the idea is to reframe that guilt that people feel when they rest, and to reframe that association, because our brain works a lot with associations, right? That's when we sometimes hear our favorite song, we get happy. We smell our favorite food, we get hungry. So our brain, this is all unconscious, works with associations. And so if we are associating rest with guilt, I come in and I break apart that association,
Okay.
reframing. And this is when NLP comes in. And another tip, if you are not ready to invest in a coach, and if you're not ready to just develop a little bit more on the inner work, another free tip that I can give is really to plan the resting time. When imagine you have your calendar and you plan the time that you have to rest, your breaks,
Okay.
before. So before you do everything else, I think it's very important to people to plan the resting times. 2 breaks, one tea break in the morning, lunch, tea break in the afternoon, and then whatever works for you. Find your balance. Listen to your body, listen to your intuition. I work a lot with intuition, a lot of spirituality. We do meditations, we do breath work, we do a lot of different techniques to help you tune in to your intuition. And it's asking your body, because your mind and your body goes, it's a communion, isn't it? So you ask yourself, you ask your mind and you ask your body, what should you do and what is it that you need. And most often than not, your body will tell you it's rest, you need rest.
That's true.
And so yes, and it you have to understand, you and all of the listeners, we all have to understand, me sometimes, that we are not machines, and so we cannot produce 24 hours,
That's
and we have to sleep. And sleep is where we restore all of the energies and we restore all of our learnings for the day. But we also have to sleep, almost rest consciously,
mm.
because we have the unconscious restorement. I'm just inventing words. The the unconscious moment where you restore your energy, that is sleep. And then you have the moment that you need to restore your energy consciously, and that is your resting time. And you should make it a priority, because it really helps you be even more productive for the times that you have to work. I would say work in blocks. Choose like 45 minutes of blocks of time, 1 hour. Work in blocks, have breaks in between those blocks, and schedule those breaks before. Test it out for a week. If you think, I don't know if that's going to work for me, no, thank you. Test it out for 1 week,
Mm.
see how it works, see what your results are when you're rested, when you're relaxed, and then you can decide. So I would say test it out for 1 week, prioritizing your rest time, and then you'll see that you'll get much better results.
That's amazing. That's really good tips, because I, for one, struggle with that. I feel really guilty when I take breaks. And so everything you said is like hitting those points for me, like, yes, oops, yes, oh, yes, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So absolutely resonates with me. And I feel like it comes a lot from the way we have been grown up, or how we have been conditioned to grow up, I think. That, when you're school time, you always have to be on. Even if you take rest, it's a crime, and whatnot. So I feel like a lot of that has come from that childhood mindset, and it's very difficult to break from that mindset.
Yeah.
And as far as you said, plan your breaks. Honestly, this is something that I came to realize after my launch period, and that is from the next time that I do launch, I'm going to make sure that I plan my rest day and like probably schedule out content for those days so that I'm not burned out. And that was something that I realized because I couldn't post anything for 2 weeks, and everybody were, asking me like what's happening, and
Mm.
people kind of go a little bit crazy when you don't post. So, I realized that, I got to condition all of that into my timetable for my next launch. So that
Yeah.
was a really good tip that you said, that you have to plan it in advance. And as far as blocking, I think I don't personally block out time, but I have to start doing that. I really do, because I feel like my block is like an entire day, and that's
Yeah.
not at all productive. And absolutely,
No.
planning that breaks in between really, really help to, I think, ease your workload.
Yeah. And I also feel like, obviously, we are not all alike. So some people work best in the morning, others work best
Yes.
in the evening. And so it's getting to know yourself. That is where self-awareness come in play. And getting to know what time of the day you are most productive. And then you focus your efforts on that time, you know, on that block of time. You plan ahead, and this tip is very simple to follow,
Okay.
because I could say you can meditate, you can journal. I love journaling. So that is one thing that, if you're ready to take it to the next level, start journaling. Start journaling your thoughts, start journaling your intentions, ask questions to your future self. And that is something that is really really helps to get that balance between your personal life and your professional life, because you get everything on paper, you take it out of your mind and into the paper, and that's very powerful. And it's funny to look back on your entries, because now I look back on my entries from 6 months and I said, oh my god, what a difference, this is just wild. And so it's just fun to do that. um, so yeah, I think, but the very easy tip is to plan your break time before you plan everything else. Yeah.
I actually recently started journaling. It's so funny that you say this. I do write. I like writing, but at the same time, I never used to keep time for journaling. But I really want to, because I feel like that helps me declutter my mind, and my mind's one of the most cluttered things ever. What are your tips for journaling? I mean, given that I just started, I would absolutely love to um, hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I actually have a freebie on that
Oh,
because it's
amazing.
my favorite thing to do. But yeah, I can just give you a run through of my journaling routine. So what I really think is very powerful is to do a gratitude exercise. So writing down three things or more, depending. I always like to use the three things that I'm grateful for, and I tend to do it experiences. So I tend to be, oh, the sun was shining today, so I'm grateful for the sun. I'm
Mhm.
grateful for my ride to work, something like that, so some simple things, and that I'm grateful for, and that just gives you that beginner's mind perspective, that curiosity on your day, because we tend to forget about the small things in our day, and we tend to say, today was so stressful, but we forget the things that were not stressful and that were very good in that day. So a gratitude exercise is powerful. Another great tip to deal with imposter syndrome, and this was so difficult for me to do, but in the beginning was very difficult, but now it's something that I look forward, is to do three things that I was successful at on this day. And it can be either getting up in the morning, that's a success sometimes. Sometimes that's a success. So it can be cooking a great meal, it can be something at work. So I store three things from my day that I was successful at. And then I do affirmations,
Okay.
do using the law of manifestation, I talk a little bit about my day, but never as it was. So what I do is I talk about the future. So I talk about the things that I want in the future as if they will happen today.
Okay.
And I ask questions to my future self. If I'm struggling with something, I ask, how would you, Joanna, from 1 year from now, how would you deal with this? And she answers, and I write. And that's what I do really. And it's really powerful.
That's amazing. I'm definitely going to start. Right now my journaling is very basic. It's just writing all my thoughts down. And yeah, what else do I do? I write all my thoughts down, and then I'm not sure if you've heard of this book, but I'm actually reading this book called Calling in the One. So
Oh,
it's
it's
basically a book. I mean, it sounds cheesy, calling in the one, but it's actually a book on how you start to love yourself. You start putting yourself first and start the process of self love. And for me, that's really important because that's where I go crazy. So, so for me, so in that, like she tells, like, you know, write these things in your journal today, or write some affirmation. So that's what I've been doing lately. That's how I started with the whole journaling thing. But I absolutely love your style of it. I think I'm definitely going to incorporate it and try to, you know, I'm definitely going to ask you questions after this episode. But I'm going to try, you know, writing affirmations. I'm going to try writing 3 things that I'm grateful for. I think that we overlook that. I think life just happens,
mm,
we overlook.
yeah.
Um, so I'm definitely going to start incorporating that. Thank you so much for that. That's such a
Okay.
wonderful insight into journaling. It's definitely going to change your life, guys. If you're listening, start
Yes.
journaling. I've been doing it for a week and a half or 2 weeks now, and it's made a lot. I think I wake up calmer, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
I feel, I usually have like anxiety about a lot of things, but that helps me like collect all my thoughts, and I wake up happy, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, it does. Yeah. And I feel like a lot of so the base cause of all of this perfectionism and all of the procrastination that we do and all of this overworking and not
Mhm.
having this balance, I think, and I felt this way, is we feel a lot like we are not enough. And this is very common. I
Yeah.
think I think all my clients come to me and say, I feel like I'm not enough. And that's another thing that we need to reframe. Not enough to do what? Compared to what? You
Ah.
know? And so it's always when we think you're not enough, well, you're not enough to do what, to
Mhm.
compared to what, compared to who, um, what would happen if you were enough? And then people usually understand that they are enough,
That's
and that is very, very powerful. So that is the work of empowering people through NLP.
That's amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing what a small mindset shift can really change your perspective on your business, and actually can, you know, make you put yourself more, like, you know, help you put yourself more out there and work towards making a successful business. So absolutely, I have enjoyed talking to you. This episode has by far been so much fun. And
Yeah.
Joanna, if you were to, you know, summarize our entire episode into 3 quick actionable tips for my listeners, what do you think it would be?
Oh my God. Quick. You say quick. Okay. Let's game on.
Okay,
Okay.
let's
So,
do this.
first thing, explore self-awareness. Be kind with yourself.
Hmm.
What else did we talk about? Yes, self-awareness, be kind. Um, Schedule your break times before
Yes.
you do anything so that you have more balance in your personal life and your professional life. um, do some journaling, do some meditation if you wish. um, and I think that was it, right? Was that 3?
I think that was 3. I think we also dealt with showing your vulnerability, because
Ah, yes, 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 yes,
that is
absolutely.
not really against you showing your expertise, and that's not going to put you down as well. In fact,
No, no, no.
people are going to respect you even more. And I think I've
Yes.
faced that as well in
Yes.
my own professional life, I guess.
Yes. 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 So I think that was it. Yeah. But people have to go through the whole episode to understand what we
Yes,
talk about.
that's true. Absolutely. Definitely. Yes. Well, that's amazing. I have had such a fun time talking to you today, Joanna. I have learned so much, not just from this call, but even our previous call. I absolutely, like, it was like a light bulb moment. I know I'm saying this for the second time, but I can't tell you how much of a profound impact it has had on me, to not take it so seriously and to not be perfect,
Yeah.
especially when I'm doing this podcast episode. And I've had like 2 or 3 interviews after that. Like I'm talking to people about the kickoff calls, and I'm like, I just want this to be chill. I just want this to be
Yeah.
cool and, like a flow. And the fact that I was calm about it made them also calm about it. So thank
Yeah.
you so much for that. Absolutely. That was a great tip. So, well, thank
Yeah,
you.
no, thank you. Thank you for having me. And I'm sure that people will understand. And I've seen this from you. So in the beginning, I felt you were a little bit more
Yes,
tense. Your shoulders were tense. And yeah. And now you're
absolutely.
just relaxed. You're smiling more. You're talk. So it's completely different when you allow yourself to be yourself, right?
That's true.
We
That's
don't
true.
have to put up a show. We don't have to put up a show to anyone. So that's just the magic, and I'm so honored that you say that I helped you in some way. I'm so happy. I'm so happy that I'm here today. It was such a lovely conversation. I really enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joanna. I absolutely enjoyed it. And for those of you out there, I'm going to put Joanna's Instagram link and her podcast link in the show notes. Feel free to check out her other pages. Joanna, do you want to talk a little bit about what you actually talk about on your podcast?
Oh, nonsense. No.
Well,
It's nonsense. No, I talk a little bit about my experiences. I give some tips. So on Thursdays, I always put up chatty episodes, very chatty, very all over the place. I don't have a theme. I only do the title of the episode after I record it. So that's me. And on Saturdays, I release guided meditations. So either meditations, breathing exercises, affirmations. So yeah, that's how I do my podcast. So yeah.
Absolutely, guys. Make sure you check it out. And if you are interested in NLP training, is that what you do, Joanna? Feel free to reach out to Joanna. I'm all going to put all her information in the show notes below. Don't forget to check it out. She is awesome, and I know that she's going to help you scale your business. All right. Well, thank you, Joanna, for
Yeah.
for coming on at this show.
Thank
And
you so much.
I look forward to putting this live, and I can't wait to hear our listeners' response to it.
Yeah, I'm excited as well.
Yeah, we did a mini dance, guys, in case you didn't see. By the way, this episode is also going to go live on YouTube very soon. So this episode is going to go 2 weeks from when we are recording it, actually, and it'll be live on YouTube as well. So you can see the behind the scenes. There's not much, actually, but we did
No,
a
you look lovely.
and oh, thank you. You look lovely too. So yes, we look awesome, guys. And you probably should hop onto the YouTube channel and check this out as well. And for those of you who want to see the show notes, you can find it on www.themmarketingnomad.co/podcast dash, and this will be the 5th episode. So yes, so 5. Okay, so
Ooh,
thank you guys so
cool.
much for listening. Joanna and I are so happy to have you here, and we shall call it a day, guys. Bye, guys.
Bye.